All right, everyone, hello. Welcome back to the ULM Dynasty here. We are at the end of year 4. We've just won our second bowl game in school history, not just in our coaching tenure. We beat the UAB Blazers for the second time, so both of our bowl victories are to the same team. However, this time was in the New Orleans Bowl, which we lost last year to Memphis, and the first time was in the Houston Bowl. So it is our best season to date. We finished the year off 8-4 or 9-4. I didn't see the record, but 8-4 is what we went in our regular season here, which is our highest win total to date. So we are moving in the right direction continuously. We're still losing a lot of games each year, which is not like a great thing to make a habit of, but if we could get that win percentage up a little bit more and accomplish a bit more, that would be nice. So we're going to go over the stats here for year 4 and just see exactly how well the team did or how not good the team did. A different thing I'm going to be doing moving forward is I'm not going to show the stat rankings anymore. I'm just going to go over our player stats, see if we got any All-Americans, and then, of course, the standings and the final polls of the season, because that's really the stuff that matters. I found in the Northwestern Dynasty I didn't really bring much attention to the stat rankings. There wasn't much of a point to me showing them. So, and also it gets pretty monotonous after like 10, 15 parts of just like flipping through all these different stat screens in this game that aren't really showing all that much information. So, surprise, surprise, we have no All-Americans in case you were looking at the screen. Go figure. We probably, I'm not going to say we never will because I've already recorded some and we eventually will, but NCAA 03 is a bit more strict about its All-American selections than NCAA 04 was, so it may be a while. Looking over the stats here, Raymond McFarland, of course, led the charge as our starting QB. He had a pretty terrible year and obviously missed some time as all 3 of our quarterbacks got on the field this year, which probably led to some of our losses here. Frank Young has a decent season, nothing too crazy there. Danny Porter leads the charge in receiving in a long way, with Elijah Spence being the next closest receiver in terms of productivity, and his stats are about half, not in receptions, but in yardage. It's about half, so I guess he was much more of a short yardage maybe option, and I guess the other was not. So looking over our O-line, there's some numbers, I guess, to kind of look at here, some consistent numbers here. Tom Thompson has a much more productive season on our line, which is nice. I also will, spoiler alert, turn off the injuries. I think not this season, but the next season. So, because I'm tired of all these split time that we have between our players, it's ridiculous. So, Zach White leads the charge in tackles and also TFLs by a pretty wide margin. Our most disruptive defensive player, and he also ties among 2 other guys on our defense for 5 sacks. So, pretty nice for him. And then Jamie Slater leads the team in INTs with 3, tied with someone else. And then Deion Davis has another equally terrible season as his freshman season, kicking for us. He's not a very good kicker, so if we could upgrade to that position, that'd be amazing. So looking over the standings for college football, which is the Sun Belt, because that's all we care about here in Monroe, we tie with our rival Louisiana Lafayette as far as conference record is concerned, but we managed to win one more game than they did, of course, our bowl game. And we did beat them in the regular season, which is why we get the Sun Belt crown, and Lafayette does not. So other than that, quite a lot of teams kind of in the fodder right there. New Mexico State and Arkansas State, really the only teams that had pretty terrible years. But yeah, everything's kind of all in the mix. So Washington is the national champions this year, which is kind of cool. And Texas is right behind them at 1 and 2. Purdue, again, in the top 5. Just crazy, man, to see Purdue around here. Ohio State coming in here at 12 after losing their bowl game. We get Marshall, Utah, Texas A&M is up here in the top 15. Some familiar teams, some cooler teams, some teams that I'd like to be good all the time and aren't, like Virginia Tech, Washington State, North Carolina. TCU slips into the rankings, as does Boise State and Oregon, and then Syracuse loses their bowl game to Oregon and drops to 25. So that is how your top 25 is going to shake up, and we are going to move right into the offseason. See how much faster that goes now. We cut out a lot of the unnecessary stat stuff, so This is a crazy thing to look at. Look at this. We're only losing 3 players from our 4th season. That is it. So we've already replaced most of our guys, and I mean, they're all young. So we have a very young team. Is the thing to garner from this. So, but this is the big thing of this video. Look at here. We got 4 blue chip prospects coming to Monroe. It's our first bit of 5-star talent coming to our team. We also have quite a bit of 4-stars too. So it's definitely our most stacked recruiting class since taking over the Indians, without a doubt. Last year we were 34th in recruiting, so we're going to see where we fare this year. But we have a really solid class, no 2-stars, no 1-stars, so we're moving in the right direction. Our prestige is finally getting high enough where we can kind of hang our hat on that, and boom, there you see we come in at 6 in the country in terms of recruiting, with only Louisville, TCU, BYU, Maryland, and Tennessee in front of us. So, yeah, I mean, no one in the Sun Belt's even getting close to that kind of recruiting, so that's a huge get for us. So, and the names that we're surrounded by, that's good company to be around. So it might be a good year or 2 delay before we really see the fruits of all this recruiting and that labor, but we are still trending in the right direction. So that's a good thing to keep your eye on as we get to the end of the 25 here, with Illinois and UTEP closing things out in the top 25 of recruiting. So it's interesting to see how the top 25 recruiting kind of translates or doesn't translate to the actual top 25 in the country. So I always think that's interesting. So looking over the roster, we're starting to get some guys cracking the 80 mark, hitting in the low 80s, and a lot of those guys, if you're paying attention, are skill position guys, like top receiver, Frank Young, our running back. Quarterback is getting up there too, and we're getting a lot of defensive positions and line positions that are getting some solid production here. If you're looking at the little star next to the helmet, that indicates, you know, how good the training was for them. So we're getting a lot of moderates, a lot of moderate progression for a lot of our guys, which is nice. So I guess maybe the off-screen hiring of the training staff and the athletic coaches is working out. So we even have a couple breakthroughs, which is nice. But talent-wise, as you can see from the overalls, everyone seems to be about in the same ballpark in terms of talent. Like, the team seems to be reaching that mid to high 70 mark across the board, which is cool. I forget what video in the series I talked about it, but you know, I was basically saying if you can get the overall of your players to kind of average out around the same place, like in the 70s, like, you can win at least 8 or 9 games. So that's kind of where we're at right now. That seems to be our threshold. So looking over the depth chart now, or I guess like our cuts, because we have a lot of players and we're going to have to cut this roster down quite a bit. We have 4 quarterbacks that we're not going to need. I'm here contemplating, as you can see, who we should probably part with, because we have quite a few guys and a lot better than what we had. And Richard is going to get the axe. So Richard, who started a bowl game for us, I believe he started that bowl game, the first New Orleans Bowl against Memphis, he's getting the axe. So he's gone. He was in his junior year, I believe, and he's gone. So, or he might have been a senior. I can't remember. But receiving core is pretty bad, as you clearly saw. We have a plethora of tight ends, so we're going to make a cut there, as well as, I mean, we have a bunch of tackles coming in and a bunch of guards. We have a lot of depth on our O-line, and only, you know, about 5 of those guys are really going to ever see the field. So, you know, if there's no need to cut them, I'm not going to. It's like a digital hoarding thing. It's like, no, I need all these 70-something guards, even though none of them are ever going to play. I need it. But having all that depth does help out, because as you can see, our center position is very low, and so if I can keep, you know, some of those better guards or tackles, one of them can slot into center, and so we won't have to start a 67 overall center. We can at least maybe get like a 72 or 73. So I like how these games do that. It's really cool, because it's also you know, pretty realistic. We have guys that can probably play much better positions somewhere else than what we actually have, so it'll allow us to kind of round out the roster. But that's the next stage. We're still cutting out a lot of fat here. We're trimming a lot of fat. We are absolutely loaded at the middle linebacker position, at least as far as the Sun Belt's concerned. I mean, I'd love to see a linebacking core in this conference that could even step to ours, you know. I bet most of the Sun Belt is still rocking 60-something overalls, primarily across their rosters. So outside of maybe like North Texas, you know, like the teams that are still kind of fighting alongside us to be with us. So The other big thing to note, maybe if you saw it there, but we did cut our kicker, Dion Davis, because we upgraded. So he's gone. He's done. 2 terrible seasons, and that's it. We were able to upgrade at kicker, so that's going to be all she wrote for Mr. Davis. He's gone. He's packing. He's probably going to go to a JUCO, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he still has an opportunity. He might take an offer to go FCS, but I doubt even they probably want him. He'll probably have to go D2, maybe. Who knows? So as you can see here at the center position, we are able to upgrade here and get something a little bit better to where O-line is going to be a bit consistent across the board. It looks like that high 70, maybe low 80 is about where the talent level for our lines are going to be. Again, we're loaded at the end positions, and we're going to upgrade at right end because our right end is really not that good. And our D tackles are also pretty solid. But yeah, as you can see, the numbers overall wise, it seems to be around that same number. So a consistently mid-team all around is, I guess, like what we're looking for. Because I'm still not sure what the goal is heading into the following season, what we're really looking for. You know what I mean? Like, because just winning the Sun Belt is really the primary thing. Just being a perennial Sun Belt contender and just trying to rack up as many bowl games as possible, get that prestige up to where we can actually start really solidifying this roster and making actual plays for like New Year's Six bowls and stuff like that, and maybe even move conferences, which I hope you can do in this game. I'm not entirely sure if you can do that in this game, but if you can, that should be the goal that we set for ourselves is to hopefully move upward and fight for more, just accomplish more as a school. But that is going to do it for episode 8 of the ULM Dynasty. We covered our offseason, and here is a look at the schedule ahead. We'll obviously go through it game by game in the next video when we sim through it. So hope to see you guys in that next episode when we hopefully expand on where we were in year 4 and continue the progression at ULM.